Hey everybody, it's Jenny, Club J Dub, coming at you on Sunday, April 13th, here from Bozeman, Montana. Today I wanted to talk about back to some fitness stuff again. I've been a group fitness instructor for about 6 years now, and I've been active for over half of my life now. I'm 53 years old, and I got into fitness about when I was 21 years old, but got serious about fitness maybe 10 years ago. But anyway, I wanted to talk about some of the most frequently asked questions that I get as a fitness instructor. So I'll just start from the top. How to get started. If you've never worked out or you haven't worked out in a long time, you just don't know how to get started. How do I start? The easiest way to get started with something is walking. Walking is a great exercise, whether you just go outside or if you have a treadmill. There's a very popular treadmill workout right now that's a 30-10-3 workout. I mentioned this in another video. The 30 is 30 minutes. The 10 is a 10% incline, which is a pretty decent incline. So if you're a beginner, you may need to dial that part back a little bit. And then the 3 is 3 miles an hour. So 30 minutes, 10% incline, 3 miles an hour. That's a great way to get started. Then it's kind of a no-brainer. You just put the things in on the treadmill and you go. Another great way to get started, resistance training, super important at any age, but especially at my age, I'm 53. Osteoporosis is a big concern for all of our aging population. So you don't have to have any weights. You don't have to have any equipment to be able to do body weight exercises, squats, lunges, push-ups. You probably have a set of stairs just going up and down your stairs. So that's a great way to get started with no equipment. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in a motel room. You can do it in your house, outside of your house. So that's another great option. There's so many resources online on YouTube, and then there's a million different fitness programs, things you can subscribe to, but there's lots of help online if you don't know how to get started. And then another thing I always suggest is find a buddy, family member or a buddy to keep you accountable, to do it with you. Group fitness, I'm a group fitness instructor and I swear by it. The accountability, the fact that there's other people in the room, you're gonna work harder. And I just love the fact that you don't have to think about the workout. You just show up, the instructor tells you what to do, and a good instructor will tell you how to do it safely and make you feel welcome, or to find a personal trainer. So that's how to get started. Okay, so different things we look at with fitness are frequency, intensity, and duration. So first, let's talk about frequency. How often should you work out? This depends on your goals, but a good guide is 5 days a week. Yep, at least 5 days a week. 30 minutes a day. So that's a good goal to start, and maybe you're not doing the same thing, and you shouldn't be doing the same thing every day, but maybe one day you're doing a 30-minute workout with some weights, or you're doing a walk, or you're doing a class. But 5 days a week is a good goal as far as frequency. Intensity also depends on what your goals are. If your goals are to just feel better, maybe your joints hurt and you want to move better, maybe you want to keep up with your kids or your grandkids, your intensity is going to be different depending on what your goals are. But a good way to judge if your workout is intense enough to actually be doing something for you: do you get breathless? A workout, you should be a little bit breathless. You should only be able, at times, depending on whether you're strength training or cardio, but to get out maybe 5 or 6 words at a time. So that's one way to gauge your intensity. Sweat, if you're sweating. If you're not breaking a sweat during your workout, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you might not be getting a great workout if you're not even sweating at all when you're doing your workout. You should feel like you're working. It should not feel easy. You should feel like you're getting a little bit uncomfortable at some point in your workout, again, whether it's cardio or resistance or yoga or whatever you're doing, but it should feel like you're doing some work. I see it all day, every day. I go in to teach my classes at the gym, and I see people sitting on a stationary bike and they're reading a book or they're watching White Lotus or whatever. Their mouth isn't open. They don't have any open mouth breathing. They're not breaking a sweat. And so does every day have to be a super intense workout? No, but most of your workouts, you should be getting sweaty and you should be getting a little bit breathless. Okay, so we talked about frequency, intensity, duration. How long should your workout be? Again, I would aim for a minimum of 30 minutes, not including your warm-up, not including your cool down. At least 30 minutes is going to get you a decent workout. Maybe a little bit longer depending on what your goals are, but you should be getting in at least 30 minutes, again, 5 days a week. How to measure your progress. There's a million ways to measure your progress. And again, it depends on what your goals are. If you're looking to train for your first 5K, your goals are going to be different than if you're just looking to feel better, move better, again, keep up with your kids or your grandkids. But here's ways you can measure your progress. Look at your frequency. If 5 days a week is starting to feel much easier than it did when you first started, then you're making progress, and you might need to up the ante a little bit and maybe add in another day a week, but it should start to feel easier the 5 days a week. The intensity should start to feel easier. A class that once you walked into and you felt like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to get through this, maybe a month or 6 weeks down the road, it feels a little bit easier to work out at that intensity. And again, the duration. Before, if you did a 30-minute class and it was all you could do to get through it, and now at the end of that 30 minutes, you're like, wow, is it over already? Then that's a good way to measure your progress, that you're getting stronger. Your weights, if you're lifting weights, doing resistance work, that might feel easier. So if you're doing body weight squats, body weight lunges, maybe some mountain climbers, and it feels like you can start to add on a little bit of weight, extra weight beside your body weight, then you're making progress there. So that's a good way to measure your progress. Your heart rate, a great way. So what I'm talking about here is metrics to measure your progress. And so you need some kind of metrics to look at these things. Heart rate is a great metric. Now you can do the old school test where you're just putting your 2 fingers on your carotid or on your radial pulse and checking your heart rate using a watch. That's a great way to do it, but we have so many great tools that can take the work out of it for you. So here's what I look at for heart rate. So let's just use the old school method. This is the easiest way. It's not the most precise way, but it's easiest. You should be working out, I think, if you're looking to make progress, looking to make gains, at 70 to 90% of your max heart rate. Your max heart rate, how do you figure that out? You take the number 220 and you subtract your age, and then you multiply that number by whatever you want your heart rate to be. If it's 70% of your max heart rate, you would multiply it by 0.7. If you're looking for pretty intense, like maybe you're training for a race, 90% of your heart rate, max heart rate, multiply it by 0.9. Here's an example. I'm 53 years old. So to find my max heart rate, I would take 220 and subtract my age, and then I would take that number times 0.7. So that would be working out at 70% of my max heart rate. My heart rate would be about 116. That's at a lower intensity, 70% of my max heart rate. If I'm looking to bust a move and I'm training for something or whatever my goal is that I want to be a little more intense, then I would take 220, subtract my age of 53, multiply that number by 0.9, and that puts my heart rate into a zone of about 150 beats per minute, puts me at 90% of my max heart rate. That's a lot of math, and I like to simplify things. So here's the tool that I use. It's called a MyZone. It's a heart rate monitor. It's a chest strap. You put it on. It's keeping track of your heart rate. There's an app that goes on your phone, or you can do it on your computer, where you enter your age, your height, your weight, your gender, all these things, and then it puts it into this nice formula, and something will come up on your screen. If you want to use your phone, you don't have to have your phone on while you use it, but it will show you where you're at, what zone you're at of your max heart rate. So if you're between 70 and 80% of your max heart rate, it'll be green, 80 to 90% will be yellow, and so on. So take the work out of it. There's Garmin's, there's a lot of different tools to keep track of your heart rate. I like the MyZone because it has an app that it's kind of a social app for your fitness. So you have friends on the MyZone app, and then you can like people's moves. You can do little challenges. That's why I like the MyZone. But there's a Garmin as well. These Apple Watches will do some of the work for you. They're not super accurate as far as heart rates, because I have the Apple Watch where it's actually taking your heart rate underneath here. It's got a little sensor. It takes your heart rate through your wrist, on the back side of your wrist. Not super accurate if you really want to keep track of your numbers, but it'll do the job. But again, I like this MyZone. They make a chest strap and a wrist strap for the MyZone. But anyway, you need to put some metrics on things, and that's how you can measure your progress. And as things get easier and you get fitter, then you have to kind of start increasing the frequency, the intensity, the duration. So there's that. Other ways you can measure your progress. The scale. Some people like to get on the scale, and if weight loss is one of your goals, then you can get on the scale. I talked about this in a couple videos ago. I don't love obsessively getting on the scale for anybody. It can kind of be a mood barometer, so I'll weigh myself sometimes once a week, sometimes every 2 weeks. It depends. But if it's a mood barometer for you, just stay off of the thing. And judge things by the way your clothes fit. Maybe your clothes are fitting better. Maybe you're feeling more rested. You're getting better sleep. That's a way to measure your progress. Maybe you have less anxiety overall, less anxiety about doing your workouts, less anxiety if you're doing group fitness classes or working with a trainer, less anxiety about going to your fitness classes, your training sessions. So there's a lot of non-scale ways and just ways to measure your progress. So there's that. Okay, another frequently asked question I get is how to stay on track. You get started, you have all this motivation, and then the consistency starts to fall off or whatever, you get sick, whatever. How to stay on track. Put your appointments or your workouts on your calendar, just like any other appointment. So if you go to a group fitness class, literally write it. If you have a calendar on the wall or if you use it on your phone, put it in your calendar, set a reminder, just like any other appointment that you would hold yourself accountable to, so you can visually see it and it's there when you need to be there. You know when you need to be there. There's no question. Prepare yourself for your workouts, meaning if you're an early morning workout person, get your stuff ready the night before. Have your water bottle ready, ice in it if you like cold water. Know where your keys are. Have your clothes laid out so you're not rooting around in the closet. Find something to wear that's going to make you feel good when you're at the gym. So maybe the baggy t-shirt and the baggy sweats are comfortable, but if you feel like you look better at the gym, you're going to perform better and you're just going to feel better about the whole experience. So have your water, have your keys, sign up for your class. If you do classes where you have to sign up for your class. Some places will hold you accountable. Like if you don't show up for your class, they will charge you a fee. So sign up, hold yourself accountable. And another way to stay on track that I love is to find a buddy or buddies, whether that's somebody you know, a family, a friend, or go to a group fitness class, and you will find the friends and you will find the buddies there. And then when you don't show up one day, they're like, hey, Jenny, where were you? We missed you. So I love group fitness for that reason. There's built-in friends and cheerleaders at every class. Try new things also. When you feel like maybe you just lost your and your workouts are getting stale, try something new. Try a new class. Try a yoga class. Try a Pilates class. Try a dance class. Go play pickleball. It doesn't have to be a class. Get outside. Learn a new sport, whether it's golf or whatever. But if things are feeling like you're getting a little stale, try something new. You do have to get uncomfortable. There's no way around it. You have to get uncomfortable in your workouts. You have to get uncomfortable in your experience. And that's where the growth comes from. Okay, I'm going to talk about spot reducing for just a minute.
I'm super sweaty. I just got off of this bike. Another question I get asked all the time as a fitness instructor. How do I get rid of this? Some people call it teacher arms. I don't know where that came from. I guess when your teacher was writing on the chalkboard. That doesn't happen on the bike, on the treadmill, or in the gym. That happens in your kitchen. I'm not an expert on that, but I know that happens in your kitchen. You can work out all day and you might still have that. So options are to try to reduce your calories. Other option is to get over it and stop focusing on the parts of your body that you don't love and start focusing on the parts of your body that you do love.
And then finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about was, as a group fitness instructor, questions I get from other instructors. So again, I've been doing this for 6 years and I have been trying and doing the work and figuring out the formula, what it takes to fill up classes and have classes that kind of have that velvet rope theory to them. I have wait lists for most of my classes and I love that. But I worked so hard to get to that point. And I've had other instructors say, how do you do it? How do you get people interested in your classes? Why are your classes always full? Here's the secret to my success. Try, do the work, put in the work. I do so much work out of class to get those classes filled up, meaning writing, if it's a workout that I'm writing the workout. I teach Les Mills formats also where I don't have to write the workout, but I do have to memorize it. It takes a lot of work. And then some of my classes I write the choreography for. I teach cycling, I teach a boot camp, I teach Les Mills body pump, and I teach Les Mills sprint, which is a cycling class. Show up early for your classes. I show up at least a half hour early for all of my classes to make sure the mic is working, my music is working. I've looked at the list of who's coming that day, so I know who's coming. If there's a new person, I already know their name. When they walk in the door, I have a pretty good idea of what their name is. So you got to show up early, you got to be prepared. Do I get paid for that time? No, but do I have full classes because I show up early, stay late, talk to people, get to know them? That's part of the secret of my success. Act like you want to be there. And it shouldn't be an act. You should actually want to be there. If you don't enjoy teaching fitness classes, it's going to show, and people aren't going to come to your classes. If they don't think you're having fun and you don't like what you're doing, it's going to show, and you're not going to have a successful class. That's as clear as I can be on that. Again, be prepared. I have my music. I have my devices charged. I show up with my water bottle full. I make sure my stuff is out on the counter and I'm prepared and I know my choreography. If you've done fitness classes before, chances are you've been to a class where you've showed up and it's painfully obvious that the instructor was not prepared, didn't put anything together, didn't learn the choreography, didn't know the music. So you got to be prepared. Music is a big part of the classes, of why people come and what keeps them coming back. And in any class, I'll have a demographic age range that can go from 13 years old to 75 years old. So I try to pick music that at least one song in every playlist somebody will like. So maybe the 13-year-old will like the Chapel Roan song versus the 75-year-old that likes a song that I put in from the Beatles or some song like that. But I try to put a little bit in to please every palate. So music is very important. But if I love the music and I'm excited about the music, I did a theme ride last week that was the Eagles. I love the Eagles. I'm a 70s girl. I'm an 80s girl, but I was born in the 70s. Not everybody loves the Eagles, but every person in that class had a good time because I made it fun and I was excited about the music and we sang and we clapped and whatever. So music is super important. Knowing the names of your members when they come to your class. People want to know that you see them and you know who they are and you're not just a generic person. So I make a huge effort to know the names of every single person that comes to my class. I have a lot of regulars, but I also get new people on a weekly basis. So I work so hard to make sure I know their name. So when they walk in the door, I can say, "Hey, Julie, nice to see you today." And knowing people's names is just super important, making those connections. And then the other thing I've done a ton of is going to other instructors' fitness classes to see how they teach their classes, what their style is, what their music is like, what they're doing that works, what they're doing that doesn't work. And then that just gives me a better idea of what's going on. And it just makes me a better instructor to go to other people's classes. So, okay, that's it. Those are the frequently asked questions that I get most often as a fitness instructor: how to get started, how often, how frequency, intensity, duration, spot reducing, how that really doesn't work, how to keep track of your using metrics to gauge your progress and see where you're at, and then how to have a really engaging, good fitness class that people enjoy and they want to come back to. So thanks for watching. Club J Dub is the name of my channel. I'd love it if you give me a like, if you subscribe, if you give me a share. I'm also on TikTok, and I'm also on Instagram, and I love what I do and it shows in my classes. I think fitness has changed and saved my life in so many ways that I could talk about it all day. So again, thanks for watching and have a great day.